welcome. I am Neil and I am Neil. Center, sort of, head. It's been a year of the vlogs. Again, as always, thanks for following the journey this far of this and that. So for this episode, I thought it'd be kind of cool to do a history lesson, history of my 8.6.
Relax.
Let's go back to the start of the history of this heap of shit shell that's behind me here. It's not a heap of shit, I'm sorry car. Yeah, my car started its life as a 1987 AE86 Toyota Truno GTV, and it was a red Panda. For some reason, a lot of them were actually sold as red over black Pandas. Red Panda, it's not really called a red Panda, that's kind of stupid, but
Silly.
Whatever, we'll call it a red Panda, but it's red over black. So my car started its life as a red over black. So there's GT Apex, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, which is the one with the brown glass, all the extras, power steering, electric windows, electric mirrors, everything was fancy. And then there's the GTV. So the GTV actually was blue glass, windy windows, and it was considered the more track orientated, the ones that were intended more for motorsport. It was a late spec, so it had the wraparound front indicator. It started its life out, just had a 16 valve in it. It's a kooky model, so kooky and zenky. Kooky means facelift, after term, and zenky is early spec, early term. There's the early spec and the late spec of both Levin and Truno. My car is a Truno because it has the pop-up headlights, and Levin obviously is the glass lamp headlight. Somebody got their hands on it, and I'm not sure if it was crashed before it was painted or afterward, but obviously it was used for a bit of drifting. Somebody crashed it, it actually got a quarter panel, so somebody was drifting the shit out of it up the mountains or whatever, and it got a bent chassis leg, it got a whole rear quarter panel on it. It has a bit of history, it's not mint, it's not pristine, it's actually a bit smashed up. Somebody put a AE92, so the front wheel drive car that came after the AE86, they got the AE92 supercharged engine, put the supercharged wiring loom in. It also had an AE92 hood scoop on it. See it with the little horrible hood scoop on the bonnet. It was a cheap power transplant back in the day because obviously these never came with a supercharged engine, so you kind of got a good horsepower upgrade. Obviously had a bit of a life in Japan. Who knows where it was? It could have been drifting up the mountains, it could have been at track days. We're never really going to know. But we do know it was crashed, and we do know that somebody put a whole bunch of stuff in it. It had Amori gauges, it had a cage, bride seat, TRD diff, TRD suspension in it, all that AE92 stuff and the hood scoop. That's accustomed to the old 90s style. Early 2006, the car came to Ireland. It came during the boom time when all the fucking cars were just flooding into Ireland. That's when we had the Celtic Tiger. And everyone had money and they were just fucking... Ireland got flooded with the Japanese cars, and this showed up. It came in from the north and of Ireland, for you people that aren't from here. And a guy called Cyril bought it off a guy. The car was unregistered, so nobody had actually registered this as a road car, and they brought it down to Carlow. And what he actually done for a while was he actually put his own license plates off of another A86 on it. He brought it to a couple of track days, he brought it to Rose Green. I actually have photographs of him drifting the car at Rose Green. You'll see these photos here, I have them cut out. Thanks to Paddy Connors for hooking me up with those photographs that he took back in the day. I don't know, like this shit's pretty cool because I really like trying to track the history. Obviously, I'm never going to know what happened in Japan, but at least I have a very good idea of what actually happened here in Ireland. My friend Jerry comes on the scene. So Jerry was building his own white two-door 11, and he actually blew his engine up. So while he took his car off the road and he was rebuilding, he bought this little fucker off of Cyril to cheer himself up while his other car was being rebuilt. He had to rent a space so he could build his car, and Jerry was the first person out of all of us to get the whole shed thing going, and that's where he started building his car. Which little side note on Jerry, he actually built probably one of the most incredible two-door A86s in the world. It actually has the interior out of USA. The Bride D1 Drift A86 that we all like, that came to Ireland and it was kablamoed, and Jerry actually has the red interior. Jerry's black two-door is one of the coolest cars in Ireland. So Jerry's lived in Canada for the last 6 or 7 years, and his car has been in storage, and not a lot of people have seen it. In fact, Nobody has seen this car.
I have seen it. Yeah.
Ruben saw it.
Yeah, but Jerry actually got the car done and he got it finished.
Yeah.
But it was never mapped. So he hasn't actually...
He's never even driven the car. Where Ruben and the guys had their old shed, Jerry pushed it outside and we done a photo shoot of it literally the day before he moved to Canada. Yeah. And then the car went into storage, never to be seen again.
Yeah, put it in a box.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm trying to tell the history of my car.
Here?
I don't know, I'm trying to do a real formal history.
Hello.
So I should probably retrace this.
Sponsored by Edmund Tires. Product placement.
Are you sponsored by him?
No. Not yet.
Hey,
you're watching.
I always talk over you in every video. Yeah. You ready? Say something.
Well, no.
Anyway, right, I have something to say. And when I was in Japan, it's all about me.
So, on that note.
Okay, I'll see you in a minute.
Yeah.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah. We're drinking PBR, which is actually really rare in Ireland. It's hard to find this stuff, but it's pretty common in America and Canada. And you guys probably have something bad to say about it, but we don't care.
We don't give a fucking, you know that.
Yep. So there's about 5 pictures of this car in existence before I got it. And I actually took one of them at a track day in 2010, but we'll get back to that in a minute. So Jerry sold this car to Dan. Now Dan is the guy that you've all seen in the videos from the start. Dan has the Starlet. Dan, it stayed in Dan's possession ever since. Coming in. I'm telling you the story then.
No, just keep talking to them.
Okay. Dan purchased, while it was still in good condition now, not in the condition you've seen it in the garden when we pulled it out. What happened was, Dan actually drove it for a couple of years. The mirror actually got kicked off in our city, even though Dan's not from here. He used to be seeing a girl and he parked it on the street, and that's why the mirror was snapped off. Somebody was walking home drunk one night and they kicked the mirror off the car. Smash! He drove it every day. He used to do track days in it. So the car started getting shitty. Dan, he's a rough man. Dan, I'm sorry. You're a rough man. The paint started getting pretty bad on it. It started flaking. It was just peeling off. The lacquer wasn't great. Dan decided he was going to paint the car himself, so he rubbed the whole car down, and then he just lost interest. I don't know. He just fucking gave up on it. Dan is one of the main mechanics at our only racetrack in Ireland, so he works on cars all day, every day, and he doesn't really have much interest in the projects after work, so he kind of started to fall out of love with this stuff. And I've got a photograph of it back in 2010 when it literally looked the exact same as it did when I pulled it out of his garden. And eventually Dan fell out of love with all of this stuff, so he, like a lot of people, he lost interest and he parked it in his back garden, and it just sat there. It fucking sat there since 2011.
So 6 years?
6 years in his back garden, and it just started getting worse.
We thought it could possibly be worse.
You should come in here now. You were here for this.
Well, yeah, I was there.
So Ruben came up with me the first time we went to look, and Dan found out that I was building the other shell. So Damien kept at him, and eventually he just said, "Look, if you make me an offer, you can have the car." Like,
yeah.
So we went up to look at it, and I was buying it as a parts car for my other shell because we thought this was fucked. It was sitting in grass in his garden for 6 years, yeah. and it looked like shit. Somebody wanted to buy the car off of Dan for $5,000. I made a promise that I would restore this afterwards. He goes, "I'll give the car to you because I know it's coming to your shed and I know you guys will take care of it." So I paid 4,000 euros, which is good money for all the parts and stuff. Some people will probably think that's crazy, but we paid 4,000 euros.
Yeah, we thought about it and said, is this a good investment money-wise or not? How much is it going to cost you? How much is it going to cost to do the other car?
Yeah. So it seemed like a good idea, so I took a chance. Like, Dan really wanted to sell it to me. He felt like I was the right person because I never had an AE86 before, and this was my first chance of getting one. This was a car that I knew, and it had some kind of a relation to the group.
Yeah, he's friends of everyone.
Friends of all of ours. He felt that the car was rightfully to go to me, and he was...
Otherwise, realistically...
Otherwise, it would have sat there, yeah. It was going to sit there forever. So luckily I snatched it just in the nick of time before it started getting bad, but as you can see from the videos, it's still pretty shit. Like,
it could be a lot worse.
So last week you guys watched a video of the engine, which looks like a fossil. It looks like the worst heap of shit thing in the whole world.
It just looked like a fucking bad idea.
The engine, I could have went an easier route, but me and Dan talked about it. I always wanted a 20 valve blacktop AE86. Not because of Initial D and the silver top 11,000 RPM crazy Group A engine, know 20 valves are the best bang for buck engine to put in an 8.6. So the engine has actually got a really, really cool story, which ties in with all of this shit. Dan rang me a couple of months ago, out of nowhere, and goes, I've got a pretty funny story for you about your engine. Your engine was actually in an armed robbery in a front-wheel drive Levin back in 2005. I actually bought your engine at a police auction back in 2005, because back in 2005, front-wheel drive Levins, the AE111, were about 10,000 euros in Ireland. They were very expensive. So these days, black tops are cheap because the cars are cheap, but back then
They were the car to have.
they were the car to have. Dan bought this in a police auction. Here are the photographs.
This is a great story.
This is fucking nuts. He was using an armed robbery up in Blessington, and the lads robbed, which is actually a really rare green front-wheel drive Levin, and they got chased by the cops, and the cops rammed them off the road, and the car flipped about 20 times into a fucking ditch, smashed to bits. Somehow the engine survived, and Dan bought the whole car, and he pulled the engine out of it. So he took the engine to put into his Starlet, which is in his garden.
I wonder, did they turn off the engine when the car flipped?
I don't know.
I hope if you're watching, I hope you did.
I know this sounds like bullshit, but it's funny that the engine is actually from an armed robbery, and it ended up in Dan's Starlet. So Dan used that to compete in drifting for like a couple of years in his Starlet. Then he took it out of his Starlet then, and it ended up in a Mark II Escort rally car, a Ford Escort rally car. And then the engine got put into the Carina. So what's nuts is this engine has had an incredibly hard life. Through Dan and his friend in his rally car, and it was out of a robbed car, and it's just like, I don't know. I think that's cool.
Yeah, but and you didn't know what to expect when you actually took the engine.
Yeah.
It was like the state of this engine.
Yeah, we took a gamble on this engine. Yeah, Dan Starlet was pretty notorious back in the day because he was one of the only people with a blacktop 20 valve 4AGE in his car, because back then that wasn't really, that was pretty unseen because they were such a rare car. It was hard to find a 20 valve. So this is how he acquired one. And I couldn't believe this story. Like, I mean, Dan's a pretty interesting guy with weird stories, and I think that's kind of funny. So I just wanted to share that with you, like a little backstory to my car, the backstory to my engine. There's probably some other weird stories that'll pop up, but I hope you enjoyed the history of my AE86 so far and the history of my engine.
Thanks for watching. I wouldn't watch us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. What?
It is. This person here is actually the reason why all this exists for me. This guy.
I did.
He ruined my life. Say hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave. This
is all going to make the cut.
This is Ruben's baby.
Look at this.
Ruben's baby.
Yeah, just reminding you, just a bit of an update. We're doing a lot of late nights trying to catch up on all the orders, so thanks for your patience, guys. We're getting through them. Did another 100 or so tonight.
Yay.
Yeah. You'll get your stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.